Who is Amr ibn al-Aas? His achievements, wisdom, justice and humility. Part 2. We continue to narrate a stage in the life of Amr ibn al-Aas. Upon his return to Medina, Amr divorced Kulthum and openly criticized Uthman. The Caliph and Amr engaged in a number of heated public exchanges and, according to a report in the Islamic traditional sources, Amr incited Muhammad's senior companions Ali, al-Zubair and Talha ibn Ubayd Allah, as well as the Hajj pilgrims in Mecca, against Uthman. He lobbied Muhammad's wife Aisha for support and the latter pressed Uthman to reappoint Amr to Egypt, citing its garrison's satisfaction with his rule. In a sermon at the mosque in Medina in June 656 and a letter penned to the Muslim leaders in Syria, Uthman mentioned that he had intended to reappoint Amr but did not follow through as a result of the latter's excessive insult. According to the historian Wilfred Madeling, the insult Uthman cited was likely Amr's public reaction to the Caliph's statement that the mutinous Egyptian troops who had arrived in Medina to protest the Caliph's policies had withdrawn because they were misinformed. "Fear God, Uthman, for you have ridden over abysses and we have ridden over them with you. So repent to God, that we may repent." After his last exchange with Uthman, Amr retired to his estate in southern Palestine. The estate was called Ajalon, after one of his Mawali, non-Arab, Muslim freedmen, and was located in the vicinity of al-Sab, which had conventionally been identified with modern Beersheba, but more likely corresponds with Beit Jibrin, according to the historian Michael Lecker. The medieval historians al-Baladari, d. 892, and Yaqut al-Hamawi, d. 1226, also suggest that Ajalon was located in the area of Beit Jibrin. Amr had likely become owner of the estate through a caliphal grant, though he possibly could have taken possession of it in the course of his conquest of Palestine and his ownership had been confirmed by the caliphs. He lived on the estate, where he derived agricultural revenue, with his sons Muhammad and Abd Allah. At his estate, Amr received news of the siege of Uthman's house and the caliph's subsequent assassination by Amr's Egyptian partisans. The roughly 400 to 600 Egyptian mutineers had protested Uthman's fiscal centralization policies in Medina and accused him of favoring his relatives over the early Muslim converts. The caliph persuaded them to withdraw, but after they intercepted a letter on their departure ordering Ibn Abi Sar to punish them, they turned back and assaulted Uthman in his home. In an anecdote cited by al-Baladari, Amr is quoted taking partial credit for Uthman's killing. Ali succeeded Uthman, but did not reappoint Amr to his post in Egypt. Amr was one of a number of figures held culpable for Uthman's death by the slain caliph's clan, the Banu Umayyads, most prominently by Uthman's uterine brother and Amr's former brother-in-law al-Walid ibn Uqba. Nonetheless, the governor of Syria, which included Palestine, the Umayyad Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, had left Amr on his estate undisturbed. As pressure from the Umayyads increased against him, Amr distanced himself from any role in Uthman's death and wrote Muawiyah to execute or banish the participating Egyptian troops who had been apprehended when they passed through Muawiyah's jurisdiction on their way back to Egypt. After Ali's victory against al-Zubair, Talha and Aisha at the Battle of the Camel in Iraq, Muawiyah, who maintained his opposition to Ali, became the focus of the caliph's attention. Muawiyah summoned Amr to discuss an alliance against Ali. In the ensuing negotiations, Amr pressed Muawiyah for lifetime possession of Egypt, to which Muawiyah ultimately acceded after being persuaded by his brother Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan. The public agreement, composed by Amr's Mala Wardan and made in Jerusalem, secured Amr's allegiance to Muawiyah in return for the latter's assistance in gaining control of Egypt from Ali's governor. According to Madeling, the alliance between Muawiyah and Amr b. al-As constituted a formidable political force. In forging the alliance, Muawiyah sought to benefit from Amr's political acumen, practical battle experience and sure judgment of military strategy and tactics, as well as his expertise and support base in Egypt. Amr became Muawiyah's chief advisor. To secure the defense of his Syrian realm from Ali's loyalists in Egypt, Amr counseled Muawiyah to secure the support of the Judamite chief in Palestine, Natil ibn Qays, by ignoring his seizure of the district treasury. Natil subsequently joined Muawiyah's cause. Amr then advised Muawiyah to lead the Syrian army in person against Ali, who began his march toward Syria in late May 657. When Ali's army set up camp around Siffin, south of the Euphrates town of Raqqa, in early June, Muawiyah's advance guard led by Abu al-Awar refused them access to the watering places under their control. After Ali protested, Amr advised Muawiyah to accept their request as preventing access to water might rally the hitherto demotivated Iraqis to a determined fight against the Syrians. Muawiyah refused, and the Iraqis subsequently defeated the Syrians led by Amr and Abu al-Awar in a skirmish known as the Day of the Euphrates. As head of the Syrian cavalry, Amr held the overall field command for Muawiyah's forces in the ensuing weeks-long Battle of Siffin and on occasion personally participated in direct combat, though without particular distinction. At one point in the battle, he raised a black fabric given to him by Muhammad at the tip of his spear, symbolizing the command role given to him by Muhammad. As the Iraqis gained the battlefield advantage, Amr proposed to Muawiyah that their men tie leaves from the Quran at the tips of their lances in an appeal to Ali's men to settle the conflict peacefully. It served as a successful ruse which ended the fighting as the battle turned in Ali's favor and sowed uncertainty in Ali's ranks. The Caliph heeded the majority will in his army to settle the matter diplomatically. An arbitration was agreed with Amr representing Muawiyah and Abu Musa al-Ash'ari representing Ali. Amr met with Ali once and the two exchanged insults, but Ali ultimately agreed to Amr's condition that he omit his caliphal title, Amir al-Mu'minin, Commander of the Faithful, from the preliminary arbitration document drafted on the 2nd of August. The omission effectively placed Ali and Muawiyah on an equal political footing and thereby weakened Ali's leadership position over the Muslim polity. Amr and Abu Musa likely met twice, at Dumat al-Jandal and then Adhara, to forge an agreement. At Dumat al-Jandal, Amr succeeded in gaining Abu Musa's recognition that Uthman was wrongfully killed, a verdict opposed by Ali and which strengthened Syrian support for Muawiyah, who had taken up the cause of revenge for the death of his kinsman Uthman. At the last meeting in Adhara, the office of the caliphate was discussed, but the meeting ended in violence and without agreement. During the brawl, Amr was physically assaulted by a Kufan partisan of Ali, but the latter was fended off by one of Amr's sons. Abu Musa retired to Mecca, while Amr and the Syrians returned to Muawiyah and recognized him as Amir al-Mu'minin before formally pledging allegiance to him in May 658. As a result, Amr was among those invoked in a ritual curse issued by Ali during the morning prayers and became the subject of derision among the Kufan core of Ali's supporters. As early as 656-57, Amr and Muawiyah persuaded Ibn Abi Hudhaifa, who had seized control of Egypt after Uthman's assassination, to meet them in Al-Arish, where they took him captive in a ruse. Amr and Muawiyah did not advance further than this point and Ibn Abi Hudhaifa was executed. Ali's second governor in Egypt, Qais ibn Sa'd, was dismissed in late 657 due to concerns that he would defect to Muawiyah, and his next appointee, Malik ibn al-Harith, died in Kulzum, Suez, on his way to the province. Malik's replacement was Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr, son of the first caliph and a foster son of Ali. Ibn Abi Bakr burned the homes and arrested the families of pro-Uthman mutineers from the Fustat garrison led by Muawiyah ibn Hudayj and Maslama ibn Mukallid. The latter two requested intervention by Muawiyah, who dispatched Amr to Egypt with a 4,000 to 6,000 strong army. Despite his 13-year absence from Egypt, Amr nonetheless mustered the support of Egypt's original Arab military settlers and their sons. In July-August 658, his forces defeated Ali's troops at the Battle of al-Musanna between Heliopolis, Ain Shams, and Fustat. He subsequently captured Fustat. Ibn Hudayj pursued and captured Ibn Abi Bakr and had him executed over the objections of Amr, who had been lobbied by Ibn Abi Bakr's brother Abd al-Rahman to spare his life. As per his agreement with Muawiyah, Amr was installed as governor of Egypt for life and ruled as a virtual partner rather than a subordinate of Muawiyah, who had become caliph after Ali's assassination and his son Hassan's abdication in 661. On the 22nd of January of that year, Amr escaped an assassination attempt by the Kharijite Zadaway or Amr ibn Bakr, who killed Amr's stand-in for the Friday prayers, Qariya ibn Hudafa, mistaking the latter for Amr. When the Kharijite was apprehended and brought before him, Amr proclaimed, "You wanted me, but God wanted Qariya." and he personally executed him. Amr was permitted by the Caliph to retain personally the surplus revenues of the province after the payment of the troops' stipends and other government expenses. He increased the original garrison at Fustat, numbering some 15,000 soldiers, with the Syrian troops he brought with him. According to the historian Clive Foss, Amr ruled the country successfully, and with considerable independence and privilege, until his death. Amr died of natural causes over the age of 90. Accounts vary regarding the date of his death, though the most credible versions place it in 43 AH, 663-664 CE. He was buried at the foot of the Muqattam Hills to the east of Fustat. Due to the early Muslims' reticence to mark the graves of their dead, Amr's burial place has not been identified. In a testament to the personal wealth that he accrued, at the time of his death he left 70 sacks of gold dinars. His sons Abd Allah and Muhammad refused inheritance of the sums, which were then confiscated by Muawiyah. Abd Allah succeeded his father as governor for a few weeks until Muawiyah replaced him with his own brother Utbah. The traditional Egypt-based Arabic and Coptic sources regard Amr positively. The major source of information about the Muslim conquest of Egypt and the province's early Arab military generations, Ibn Abd al-Hakam, d. 871, commends Amr for his leadership of the Egyptian conquest and as the upholder of the interests of Egypt's troops and their families against the central authorities in Medina and later Damascus. The Egyptian Arab tradition holds that Amr was personally praised by Muhammad and was a man of wisdom and piety on his deathbed. The nearly contemporary Coptic historian John of Nikiu, flat 680-690, who was generally critical of Arab rule, said of Amr that he had no mercy on the Egyptians and did not observe the covenant they had made with him, but also says of him that he exacted the taxes which had been determined upon, but he took none of the property of the churches, and he committed no act of spoliation or plunder, and he preserved them throughout all his days. In the words of Kennedy, of his Amr's competence as a military commander and politician there can be no doubt, the results speak for themselves, but he also has a reputation for straight dealing and justice. Amr's roughly 2-year conquest of Egypt was the quickest in the history of the early Muslim conquests. Though demographically Egypt remained largely non-Arab and non-Muse. Amr's estates in Palestine remained in the possession of his descendants as late as the 10th or 11th centuries. His granddaughter Abd Allah bint Abd Allah married the Umayyad viceroy of Egypt Abd al-Aziz ibn Marwan, d. 705, and gave birth to his sons Sahel and Saul and daughters Salah and al-Hakam. The estates in Medina that Amr's descendants inherited from him were confiscated by the Abbasids after they took over the caliphate from the Umayyads in 750. The estates were restored to Amr's family after the intercession of his great-granddaughter Abida al-Hasna bint Shuaib ibn Abd Allah, who married the Abbasid prince al-Hussein ibn Abd Allah ibn Ubayd Allah ibn Abbas, d. 758. I stop at this point today. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring the world's incredible stories. Thank you for watching.